you for tuning in to The Early Days, the podcast that brings you closer to the heart of entrepreneurial success, thanks to the support of Prowse Barrette LLP. Now, today's guest is Dr. Gregg, a 5-time Stanley Cup champ with the Oilers, a family physician, and now one of the driving forces behind one of Edmonton's most exciting new ventures, the Edmonton Riverhawks baseball team. Coming up, Dr. Gregg will talk about many things, including what Wayne Gretzky taught him about leadership. This is The Early Days, brought to you by Prowse Barrette. I'm Jackie Ray and Dr. Gregg. How's it going? Thanks for joining us today.
It was my pleasure. It's going well. You know, anytime you get up and you're vertical, not horizontal, is a good day, I think.
I'm thinking of the toques you've worn in your day. Well, obviously, father, husband, doctor, Olympic athlete, Stanley Cup champ. Did you ever see baseball team owner on your resume?
Well, I saw baseball on my resume. That was the sport I really enjoyed when I was younger. The problem was, by the time I got good enough to get a scholarship in the States, I was in medical school, and I thought, well, I better not give up on that gig. So I thought, well, maybe I'll play hockey instead. But yeah, baseball's been a sport I've loved for the longest time. And I think it's really good for the community. I think the community of Edmonton, we need a hockey team, we need a football team. We also need a baseball team. So I'm not interested in being the owner. They call me the janitor down there because I do a lot more cleaning than owning. But it's been a labor of love because the game itself is a very nice game.
It is a great game. So growing up, you played more baseball than hockey?
Well, you know, what did you do when you were younger? You played hockey in the winter and you played baseball in the summer. And the good thing about baseball is you just go out with 4 of your friends and play until it's dark, and then you'd play for 2 more hours until your mother yelled at you to come home. So, you know, it's an interesting game. I think a lot of people really have a passion for baseball because it's a summer sport. This non-structured play, which we're starting to realize now for a lot of our young athletes who play 84 games in a hockey arena, may be good from a talent standpoint, but you know, passion in your sport is quite important, whether it's sport, music, drama, whatever it may be. And being out in the field with your buddy playing catch for 6 hours, it creates a passion, I think.
Do you feel as an athlete as well that it's not good for them to think hockey 12 months of the year? I think people should find other sports.
Well, that was natural years ago because we didn't have summer hockey. We didn't have winter baseball. We had a number of different sports. There was a fellow named Gretzky that I vaguely remember in my history, and Wayne was a fabulous person. And I remember going to Pittsburgh, and a fellow stopped Wayne and said, Wayne, I've got a 12 and a 13-year-old. The 13-year-old scored 87 goals and 57 assists. What's the best thing he can do in the summer to be a good hockey player? And Wayne looked and said, play golf. Because Wayne realized that golf, the hand-eye coordination, the freshness that you bring to the new season was really important. So here's arguably, well, the best player in the history of the game of hockey telling people to play a summer sport because it will make you a better hockey player. Now it's a little bit harder, and I feel sorry for not only the young kids, but also the parents who say, well, if my child doesn't play summer hockey and spring hockey and fall hockey, then he won't get onto the team to play winter hockey to make $1 million in hockey. And I don't agree with that from a physiologic standpoint, a medical standpoint. I think that there's very, very many benefits of playing a number of sports. 2 of our children went to 2 Olympics in speed skating. My wife was a speed skater. And at 16, my daughter was training 2 hours a week. Now, at 19, she was on the national team training 4 hours a day. There's a big difference physiologically, mentally, emotionally, socially. A 16-year-old girl and a 19-year-old girl. So speed skating is a wonderful sport because you don't have to peak at 13 like gymnastics or figure skating. You don't have to peak at 17. You can peak at 22. When you're in university, you understand the focus and determination and drive that you have to be a great athlete. So it doesn't mean that gymnastics and figure skating and hockey are bad sports. It's just, as parents, do we want an Olympic athlete or do we want a good young child? And I think that's a pretty easy answer.
Yeah, you're absolutely right there. So with you now, you move. So you're going to school and you get onto the Oilers. You're playing hockey, but you never let your school fall behind, did you? Or
so
did you?
First of all, I never really thought I was particularly good. I never was really good, but I got onto a good team. I had an amazing coach by the name of Drake who taught a big, tall defenseman who was slow to be a big, tall defenseman who was slow but knew how to play defense. So my 4 years at university, it really transitioned me into somebody who still wasn't a particularly dominant player, but at least I knew my defensive responsibilities. But luckily enough, after 4 years at university, I went to the Olympic Games, courtesy of Father David Bauer and the Olympic program. The most exciting experience of my life. We came in 6th place. We didn't win a medal, and it was the most exciting experience of my life because we weren't paid a lot of money. We got paid, I think, $4,000 for the year. The team was wonderful. We were all so tight. We had to carry our own bags. My God, how could you do that? But we did. And I didn't win a medal, but I did find a wife in Lake Placid, so that was kind of nice. A lot more important than a medal. But I think what I realized is do what you love to do, not what pays you a lot of money. And I think that's been a good experience for me throughout my career. And hopefully, I've taught my children that as well.
And I think it's carrying over now with you with the idea of bringing the Edmonton Riverhawks, because that's kind of baseball. It's almost for the love of the sport, but they're still hoping to get places. What the heck sparked the idea for you even to bring baseball back to Edmonton?
Well, as you know, Remax Field is a fabulous facility. It's a great stadium, probably second only to the Toronto Blue Jay Stadium in Toronto. And it was falling apart. It wasn't well kept up and so forth. It's a big facility. And I tried to actually bring my men's team down there, the team that I coached, my 2 sons and my other 14 sons that I took care of all summer. And I just found that we needed to do something better than that. We tried to get a franchise in the Western Canadian Baseball League, which is a fairly decent league. But the owner of the Edmonton franchise was not particularly interested in sharing that experience. So as we left, a good friend said, well, what about the West Coast League? I said, well, yeah, it's a great league, but we're not in the West Coast. We're in the prairies. Well, we formed a group of ownership people who, like a lot of us, have a real interest in the community and developing Edmonton and making the community even better for young people and old. And it normally takes 3 years to get a franchise. We got a franchise in 3 months. So I think the people in the West Coast League realized that Edmonton, they didn't realize how fantastic the community of Edmonton was, but they saw the facility, 9,200 seats. They thought that the ownership group was fairly decent, and so far so good. Now it's funny because I used to go to the owners' meetings and they say, Edmonton, now where is that anyway? Is that Canada? They don't say that anymore. They know exactly where Edmonton is. We've broken all the attendance records, and they keep on saying, what are you guys doing up there? And so it's kind of fun. And
we are going to talk a bit more about what the heck you guys are doing up there, because you have built in a very short time a really, really solid franchise. I know you sold out another big game on Canada Day, but in the earliest days when you were starting out with the Riverhawks team, what was your biggest challenge?
Well, the unknown, to be honest with you. We realized that being from Edmonton, from birth on, we knew that the community was going to be solid, that if you did the right things, they would support it. But the first game, we didn't know whether we'd have 2 or 200 or 20,000 people. And but you have to go with your instincts. You have to make sure that you do all the things you have to do. It's funny because I'll spend 8 hours a day raking sand down there or cutting grass. And my wife says, well, you don't do that at home. I says, not as much fun at home. So there's something magical about being around your friends in a ball diamond and making things happen. So, but there was a couple of premises that I thought were really important. To be honest, I'm not really concerned about you or me. We can afford an $80 ticket or a $2,000 ticket. I'm concerned about that young family who maybe can't afford that. And so we said, we've got to have a $20 ticket. And so, of course, with 9,200 seats, you're in the bleachers, but you're there. And so a young family that may struggle going to some other professional events get a chance to come down and experience baseball and a hot dog and pop and so forth. The other thing I said is we have to have a $3 hot dog. Now, I can afford a $9 hamburger, but I don't want any family to go home hungry because they can't afford a $9 hamburger. So we have a junior dog at $3. And although it seems like a small thing, I think in medicine, certainly, if you take care of the people who need support, the rest will be taken care of. And I think that rings true, that we're not trying to nickel and dime people. I think we're trying to make it enjoyable. We often give things away and people say, why are you doing it? And we say, because we can. So my life is not going to change if I have $10 more or $10 less dollars, but my life will change when I see the smiles on the kids and the families who really don't get a chance to experience that. So we're pretty excited about the things we do. I think that's a premise that goes a long way. Now, after saying that, I'm a big baseball guy. I think there's a saying that there's 1,500 people in Edmonton that would sit in a washroom and watch baseball, and there's 1 million people that want to be entertained. So our general manager, Steve Hogle, is an entertainer. I'm still not sure whether he knows what a slider is. But after saying that, it doesn't matter because we got people who know what sliders are, our coaching staff and our players. And so he's done a really good job to make sure it's really entertaining. Because when you think about it, a 2-hour baseball game has about 13 minutes of action. So there's a lot of standing around. So the beer's got to be cold, the hot dogs got to be hot, and there has to be entertainment. So I think that rings with people that I don't know what a double play is, but holy smokes, there's a lot going on. So I think this balance between entertainment and good quality baseball is really important.
Well, and if, even for me, you're saying you're targeting the families that maybe can't afford that. Even I marvel at when I go to buy a dog and a beer, how it is inexpensive for us adults too. So I quite love it.
Well, you know, I think that's partly, it's not business. I mean, a business person has to make money. That's what businesses are for. We can't lose money because then you go to business. But in medicine's a fantastic profession. I think that I've never actually got up one day and said, oh, I have to go to work. Because we don't care whether you're the CEO or the successful person or the PhD. We care that you're a person. And so I think that gives us a background to say, let's take care of everyone, not just the rich or the wealthy or the intelligent. And, you know, that's the exciting thing when you can see people come out and experience that. The elderly people who maybe just they're on a fixed income. They don't have a chance to go to some other sports, to be able to come and enjoy their experience because ultimately they all played baseball when they were young, whether it was in Swift Current or Bruderheim or Edmonton. So, yeah, it's a nice environment. We're pretty pleased that we can, you know, provide that to everyone, not just the very few.
So I'm intrigued that you get the franchise within 3 months, but you're building a franchise from scratch, really. So you get Steve Hogle, who's in charge of the fun and entertainment. What other things did you have? What other building blocks did you have to put in place before opening day?
So I'm a greedy parent. I think there's nothing wrong with being greedy when you're a parent. And what that means is that the 5 most important people in my life are my wife, my 4 kids. My son Ryan was a baseball player, and unlike hockey or speed skating, where 2 of them went to the Olympics, it's really hard to make Major League Baseball from Canada. He was a good athlete, wonderful young guy, and I thought this would be an amazing time, this greed that I have, to be able to spend time with my son. So Ryan is the operations manager, and he has a real passion for baseball. He understands that. So he takes care of the baseball side of it. We've got some good coaching staff, some young people who maybe don't have a great deal of experience, but have the passion and background to be able to run the team. So it's really nice to watch him grow as an individual and do a very, very good job, because the West Coast League is not the New York Yankees. You know, we don't sign these players for long-term contracts. They're summer collegiate players. They're coming from many colleges down the States. And unlike all the other teams that have had 10 or 15 years of experience dealing with these colleges, we had no experience. So the first year we had a fellow named Jack Gurovich, who was 18 years old. I don't think he'd ever shaved in his life. Nice player, could hit the ball. Well, he just hit 400 in the Cape Cod League and and got drafted in the 3rd round. So now he's 23 and he's a player. So when Jack signed, I think he was San Diego, I believe, when he signs a contract, plays in Major League Baseball, I hope he looks back and says, you know, when I was a real young kid, I played in this place called Edmonton. It was really cool up there. So unlike taking from these players, we want to give to them. Our family stay home experience is really, really good. As much as dormitories are okay, these players are a lot of times in dormitories at their colleges. So we'd like to get them in family settings here in Edmonton. And invariably, that's one of the best experiences, because
So they're all billeted out?
The vast majority of them, yeah.
Okay.
We have a goal of having all of them do that. But yeah, it's not because of, it's not a money saver necessarily. I'm not sure who gets more out of it, the billet player or the billet family.
Yeah, I believe that. So opening day, do you remember how many fans were there the opening day?
Yeah, I think we had about 1,700, which was quite amazing. We sat there and said, oh, they are coming.
And build it, they will come.
Yeah. But knowing that we did the work, I think, we put in the time, we kind of established a goal of the team to represent Edmonton in this league and also to these young players. We felt pretty comfortable. If we did all the right things, then, you know, slowly it would grow. June, as you know, is sometimes a colder month and sometimes a wetter month. We love it if it was July, August, September, because we get more warm weather. But it is what it is. These young players have to go back to college in the middle of August, so the season's over. But the other thing that's really nice is, in the past, that stadium has been used for 27 games. Well, we've got Swifties Under the Sky coming up. We've got so many different events going on there. And that was part of the goal as well. The city came back, and in fact, the city was interested in demolishing Remax Field and putting up condominiums, or at least some of the developers wanted to do that. Can you imagine the money that someone could make putting condos in the River Valley? So when we negotiated with the city, we got a 10-year operating lease, and they said, we really want you to expose Remax Field to other people other than baseball. Yes, that's exactly what we want. So it is something. We had a powwow yesterday, 1,500 people down there from the St. Paul area. It was wonderful. They just loved it. They want to come back next year. So whether they come back and watch a baseball game or not, doesn't matter to us. It's using the facility that you and I pay for through our taxes to be able to expose that to not just the baseball crowd.
So you have 1,700 the first game, and then obviously we all know it's built from there. What has been your biggest aha moment as a Riverhawks, as a baseball team owner, where you just went, man, this is cool?
Yeah, you know, I've gone to Fenway and I've gone to Yankee Stadium, and if you ever went on the field, they would shoot you with a high-powered rifle. You know, you just can't go on that field. So when we first started, we said, we've got to share this field with people. We've got to let them go on the field after the games. And people said, no, you can't. They're gonna throw their garbage on there. So I'll pick it up. Let's see what happens. So after every game, we've got these 5- and 6-year-olds running the bases, the parents watching them with a big smile on their face. And it's magical.
It is. Like me as a fan, I stay to the end of the game so I can see that. And I have no kids in the game.
And what's even more amazing is there might be one empty can. At the end of the day, I walk around with one empty, because people are respectful. I'm not sure I could do that in Los Angeles or Toronto, but I can do that in Edmonton. Yeah. And that's the quality of people we have here. You give them the opportunity to have fun, and they'll respect it. We started a movie festival, actually. We had a league of their own, in fact, is coming up in 2 weeks. And same thing, we let them come. They've got chairs, they've got blankets. They go out on the outfield. 2 people were lying on the mound watching our last movie. And it's amazing, because when it's all finished, they all pick up their popcorn before they leave. It's a $5 ticket. We want them to understand that this is partly their facility because they're Edmontonians. And the first movie we had was about 100 people. Last time, a week ago, we had 800 people out there. Wow. And all these kids running around. And, you know, it's things like that it could have bombed. 10 people could have come, and we're okay with that. Because if you do what's right, you know, sometimes it works out. And
if you don't try, you'll never know, right? Do you think that's why the Riverhawks and everything has struck such a chord with fans, is the accessibility, or that it is different? It's more family orientated, which a lot of things aren't.
I think so, and I think Steve and I will probably butt heads every now and then, because I'm the traditional baseball person. I want to see the double play. I want to see the third baseman making a great throw to first base. But I also realize that not everybody's me, that we need to understand that the 25-year-old female who maybe knows what a baseball is wants to have the between innings activities and games. So I think there's a real good, our T-shirt cannon is off the wall. People enjoy it. So it's a $5 T-shirt. But you know, after saying that, I remember when I was playing with the Oilers and Bill Ranford was our goaltender. And Bill's a wonderful guy. And they'd come around, we went to something, and they gave us a T-shirt. And there's Bill Ranford looking like a T-shirt. I said, Bill, you're making hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's a $5 T-shirt. But it's the principle of giving something that you don't have to give.
And it's not expected.
It's not expected, exactly. And of course, if you make it a lunging grab in section H to get the T-shirt, it means even more. So those are the small things that I think they make a difference. And we have to grow with it. I think Steve has a good comment that if you stay stable, you're going backwards. So you have to improve, you have to develop. And interesting enough, the first 2 years, we weren't able to make the playoffs. And we realized that the 18-year-old who may make MLB in 5 years is still 18. So now we have 5 players from Central Arizona College. It's a junior college, so not UCLA, not Pepperdine, not USC. Well, they shave, first of all. And they're wonderful men. They're more mature, and they're men, and they're not young teenagers. And so now we've got a really, really competitive team. They may never play Major League Baseball, but they're so respectful for the experience they have here in Edmonton, and they can play baseball. There's some great. I mean, I think well, usually I hit home runs or struck out because I didn't run very fast. I don't think I ever made a head-first slide. They're head-first sliding all over the place just because they can. I think you and I do that, they'd have to carry us off. in a gurney.
Do you know, what is something that you have learned from starting the Riverhawks that you think would apply to any entrepreneur that's watching or listening to this, or any business leader that's watching or listening to this podcast?
Yeah, so I'd like to tell you that I'm a good businessman, and I'm not. You know, my father was a good businessman. My brother's a very, very good businessman. And doctors tend not to be good businessmen because we want to just provide services. What I did, though, is I watched my father, and you know, our summer holiday was when he used to take all the equipment out of our station wagon, put the 6 of us in the back seat, and go to Sandy Lake for 2 hours. That was our summer holiday. You might think, well, that's not a very good summer holiday. Well, all the rest of the time we were out playing baseball with our friends. But what he taught me was do the work, and don't ask other people to do things that you're not willing to do yourself. So very often we'll be down at the ballpark and we're cleaning or picking weeds or doing something. We say, oh, shoot, it's 11 o'clock. We better get home. But it's the best day of our week. So I think it's important for anyone, whether they're business leaders or just, you know, in a convenience store, to be willing to do anything and that you're going to ask other people to do. And I think it shows from our group. We have a good young group of people who will stay there till 11 o'clock at night if they have to, or 1 o'clock in the morning. And it's good for them. I think it makes them into better people. And I think when people are always trying to help, whether it's our players, our fans, I think that resonates a little bit.
Do you feel that the city's kind of now, as part, because of the Riverhawks, it's not only the owners, it's the volunteers that work the ball games and other things, that everybody, that it's kind of, everybody is taking an ownership in it?
Well, that should be our goal, shouldn't it?
Should be,
we
yeah.
We could just take your money, give you a $15 beer, and away you go. And because we don't have Connor McDavid for 10 years, you know, we have a fella for 1 or 2 years, then he goes on. We can't hang our hat on the fact that we're going to see this fella develop. Maybe when he goes to the LA Angels, we can say he played in Edmonton. So what we have to develop is a feeling of ownership. And I bought my $20 ticket. That's my team. And that's the T-shirt they gave me when I caught it going into the stands. And that's that $3 hot dog that I gave my son. So I think ownership can be developed in many different ways. So yeah, we like to share. I don't think we have any owners. We have people who pay the bills. But yeah, the ownership is a big thing. If I was a lot younger and had 4 little kids, I'd want to go to the Riverhawks games. So if I wanted that many years ago, why would we not want that for the rest of the people in the community?
Oh, what has owning a sports team taught you about leadership that you didn't know before? Because I've always known you've been a leader in the community, but what has something that's really resonated with you that maybe even took it from when you played with the Oilers to now? What is leadership to you?
Yeah, you know, the experience with the Edmonton Oilers was an interesting one. We were owned by a fellow named Peter Pockentooth, ended up getting thrown in jail. To his credit, he brought Edmonton, the Oilers, but not a man that you'd want to look up to with his philosophy and his business acumen and his strategies to be successful. But we also had people like Wayne and Mark Messier and things like that. I've got to tell you a quick story about Wayne, because nobody in my realm will ever say anything bad about Wayne. He's an amazing man. The credit he got, he deserved, and the stress that he had by being Wayne Gretzky when the rest of us could go into the bus and he signed 1,000 autographs. And the fact we went into the bus after the game and he talked about why we lost 7-1. An amazing man. Anyway, my father passed away at 104, and when he was 99, I thought, oh, shoot, I've never asked Wayne for anything. All these people all over the world are trying to get something from Wayne. But I thought, my dad's 99. You know, this might be a reasonable time to ask Wayne. So I texted Wayne. I said, Wayne, my dad just turned 99. If I send you a picture with a self-enclosed envelope, would you just sign it and send it to my dad? He wrote back about 10 minutes later, what's his address? So I kind of forgot about it a little bit. About 4 days later, I'm in the clinic, and the secretary, you know, calls me and said, Dr. Gregg, your dad's on the line. So I answered. I said, hi, Dad, how are you doing? There's a package here for you. He says, kind of a bit old, gruff guy. And I said, no, it's probably for you, Dad. No, I don't know anybody in Los Angeles. It's got to be for you. So I said, okay, Dad, after work, I'll come over. So I come over. There's a box from Los Angeles. We open it up. There's an LA Kings jersey, Gretzky 99. there's a poster of Wayne, and there's a handwritten letter that says, "Dear Mr. Gregg, it was a pleasure playing with your son all those years. Isn't it great to be 99? Wayne Gretzky."
Oh.
You know what happened? My dad said, "You said that." He said, "Wayne Gretzky would never do that. You haven't played with him for 20 years. I said, "Wayne Gretzky would." I had to bring my brother over to tell my dad that, in fact, it was Wayne. How could he do that after 20 years? What kind of an amazing man would think so highly of his teammates after that long? So that's why nobody in my surroundings is ever going to say something bad about Wayne, because he's a special person. So what we learned from him, not only that he was a fabulous player, and he wasn't the Mark Messier, he wasn't the yeller and screamer, but you watched him and said, that's how I want to lead. That's how I want to be a parent. That's how I want to lead my medical practice. That's how I want to lead the business. Do the work and expect nothing back.
I think that is, I don't know how to top that. I thank you so much, Randy, for taking the time on this Early Days broadcast. And best of luck with the Riverhawks. You'll see me at the ballpark again and again. It's just an incredible experience, what you've built down there. You should be really proud of it.
Thank you. And if you do come, I will buy you a cold beer and a $3 hot dog.
Yes! Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you again to Dr. Randy Gregg for joining us on the Early Days. I'm Jackie Ray, and in wrapping up this episode, we're reminded that entrepreneurship is a path filled with learning and growth. And a big thank you to our presenting sponsor, Prowse Barrette LLP. Please do consider them in the near future, whether it's advice on commercial transactions, protecting your intellectual property, navigating employment law, whatever. Prowse Barrette can help you out. Thanks for tuning in to the Early Days.
This series is proudly produced by the team at Road 55. Road 55 creates content that connects. For more information, visit our website at road55.ca.